1 week away, 7 days away from the start of the Duke football season. They'll be taking on Temple next Friday night at Wallace Wade Stadium. It's going to be epic. We talked quarterbacks yesterday. Who's going to be scoring the touchdowns? That's a big question as well. We're hoping that we see a lot of touchdowns this season for the Duke football team. We will talk about all of that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Let's get right to it.
Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us on today's show. Our show today is brought to you by our friends over at Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. On this Friday, we're talking Duke football, 1 week away from the start of the 2022 season, which is really exciting to think about. Duke football being played under the lights 7 days from now at Wallace Wade Stadium. We talked a lot about quarterbacks yesterday. We're going to move on to the other side of the football. And so once again, I've got my buddy Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast. I shouldn't quite say other side of the football. I should say other guys on the offense. Let's talk a little bit about the skill group guys. And Josh, we get set for football now 1 week away from the start of the 2022 season.
Yeah, it's Friday and it's 1 week away, and so we've been waiting on this. You scared me there for a second when you said we were going to the other side of the football because I'm like, man, all my stuff and notes I've got here for skill positions on offense, but no, we're ready to go, man, ready to rock and roll. 7 days. We'll see what Duke puts out there on the field for sure, man. Can't wait for it.
All right, so we talk about the quarterback position a lot yesterday, and we got to figure out who's going to be scoring the touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball. Directly behind the quarterback, of course, is a running back, and a running back that Duke has to replace this season just so happens to be the greatest runner in a single season in Duke football history, in Mataeo Durant, and what he was able to accomplish a season ago. No more Mateo Durant this season. How big of shoes is that to fill?
Well, it's massive. When all else fails, give the ball to Mateo, and that was a little bit of what we've done, especially last season. And he started last season with a bang, man. That game he had at Charlotte, even though that was a loss, Mateo started the season out just turning heads. And what a great season! What a great kid! I mean, what a great person, and his story, coming from one of the smallest towns in America and becoming a all ACC running back. Pretty incredible story. But yeah, those are some big shoes to fill, and we will not be filling those shoes with a single player. I can promise you that.
So Jordan Waters was the backup running back a year ago, and behind Mateo Durant, Jordan Waters had by far the second most carries on this Duke football team. And so you go into spring ball this season, and you take a look at what the running back room looks like. Everybody from the outside looking in would imagine that Jordan Waters was your number one guy, given the fact, again, being the backup a year ago, Durant leaves, you just take that next step up. Tell me some of the other guys that are in the mix for this position, Josh.
Yeah, and you're very accurate with that on Jordan Waters. I mean, Jordan's a converted secondary guy who came over and made his way into the running back room, I believe, 2 years ago. And then last year, I mean, he had a couple of great highlights last year too, by the way, trucking the guy at the Charlotte game and other
first game of the season.
Yeah. I mean, just ran him over. And so Jordan's very capable. Jordan's a downhill runner. He loves to hit people. He loves to get hit. Like, he doesn't shy away from any contact whatsoever. But then also in that room, you have Jaylen Coleman. Jaylen Coleman is a little bit taller and more slender, I would say, than Jordan Waters. But Jaylen Coleman is very speedy. He's a track guy. And when he can break it out, which he's done some in practice, and he had a good first scrimmage as well. When he can get out in the open, he's very fast, very hard to catch. And so Jaylen Coleman is another one. And then a guy that turned heads in the spring game and then turned heads again in the second scrimmage in fall camp was Jacquez Moore. And he wears number 20. He kind of came on the scene at the spring game. He busted a 60-yard run the final scrimmage, the second scrimmage in fall camp as well. And so he's got breakaway speed. And then you've got Terry Moore, a true freshman, who came in. So you've got Jacquez and Terry. If we ever see, Steve Wiseman brought this up, we're looking maybe one time this season, could we possibly see Jordan Moore take the snap at quarterback? And to his right, he has Terry Moore, and to his left, he has Jacquez Moore. And that would just be incredible for Dave Shoemate to have to figure out how to call the more package there at Duke football. But you have Terry Moore.
I think it's pretty simple. I think the more the merrier. I
exactly.
think it's written right there.
Exactly. And Moore gets the snap, and he fakes it to Moore. And then, Duke scores more, hopefully. But those are the top four with Jordan Waters, Jaylen Coleman, Jacquez Moore, and Terry Moore. That's in no particular order, in my opinion. I do think there are two true freshmen as well that are not on this list that I believe lets that room be 6 deep, and that is Eric Weatherly. He's a short, if you want to compare a Darren Sproles, Tariq Cohen type guy.
Sure.
And then Travis Bates as well as a true freshman. Obviously, I believe the plan for Bates is redshirt to keep him here as long as we can. He's more of a traditional running back, kind of deal. But those two guys are also in the mix there. I think we, be remiss to not mention them. But the top four is looking like Waters, Coleman, Moore, and Moore. And let's go from there. I don't know what to say as far as where I think they're going to rank, but those are the four in the room.
Who's been the most impressive throughout fall camp?
On the Section 17 podcast, in the season preview episode, my pick for leading Duke in rushing yardage this year was Jaylen Coleman.
There you go.
I was the only one of the four of us. The other three picked Jordan Waters. So if that's kind of how it works, there's a little strategy there. I'm trying to win a free steak dinner.
There you go.
You can't pick the same person everyone else picks all the time. But I do believe that Coleman and Waters, in my opinion, are going to kind of be the two that rise to the top a little bit, especially when you think about conference play and who they're going to trust. The upperclassmen seem to be trusted a little bit more when you get to ACC play.
I picked opposite you. I went with the other guys. I said Jordan Waters likely to have
you were one of those.
The best season. But
once again, like I told the guys, I'll take my steak medium rare. I appreciate it.
You're ready to rock and roll. Go listen to that podcast, by the way, the Section 17 podcast, season preview and predictions available wherever you get your podcasts. Looking at that running back room in particular, unlike quarterback, it is certainly okay to have multiple guys contribute throughout the course of a football season.
It is, and that's not uncommon. Not only is it not uncommon in football in general, it's not uncommon at Duke. I mean, what was the 2013 our season where we had the 10 wins and won the Coastal and the whole deal. I mean, we were rotating 3-4 running backs that season as well. And so, like running back, we've seen it in the NFL. Running back is like the shelf life of a running back in the NFL is so small, so short. And so if we have 4 guys in a room and, I would say this, there are coaches who would rather have 4 guys in a room rush for 400 yards each than to have 2 guys in a room and 1 guy rushes for 1,300 and 1 guy rushes for 300.
Yeah,
I believe there are coaches that would rather have what we have as running back by committee.
I love it. And that's what Duke football looks like in 2022, and we'll see how that changes throughout the course of the season. Let's go to the wide receivers. We'll talk about them coming up in a moment here on Locked On Blue Devils. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, moving forward in today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my buddy Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast, 1 week away from Duke versus Temple at Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. We are thrilled. We're eager for the season to get here. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Josh, let's talk wide receivers now. Mm-hmm. Who's in the mix? Who are going to be the playmakers at wideout this year for Duke?
Yeah, well, we return an incredibly talented wide receiver in Jalen Calhoun. A lot of people talk a lot about the season that Jake Bobo had last year, and he had a great season. There's no question. But in my opinion, Jalen Calhoun was right on his heels. In fact, I believe he scored more touchdowns. I believe I don't have him in front of me. I know he had more yards per catch, that's for sure. And he wasn't far behind him in receptions, less than 20 away, I believe, on that. But yeah, I believe we first of all we have to start out there. And Jalen's going to have a heck of a season as wide receiver one. From there, it gets a little murky. If you listen to yesterday's episode, you find out what Duke fans know now, and that is that Jordan Moore is going to be taking some reps at wide receiver. I think he is not doing that as sitting on the bench as a wide receiver. I think he's doing that to be on the field as a wide receiver. So he's in the mix. You have Eli Pankle, who he has a very bright personality, but I will say, taking his personality out of it, the improvement from last season, Eli Pankle, through spring ball, through fall camp, he is a much better receiver. He's a much more consistent receiver. He's a bigger kid, 6'3", a big target that you're really looking for in the wideout room. I would say the most impressive I'm going to say the most improved wide receiver on the roster is Samir Hagans. Samir Hagans looks like Jalen Calhoun 2.0 right now. And man, he's made some really big plays. In fact, in the second scrimmage, man, he had a touchdown catch, and he made several really difficult catches. So Samir has really looked good. He's going to be in the mix. You're going to see 85 on the field, and he's going to be getting targets. That's for sure. And then you have Daryl Harding Jr., and I got to be straight up real with you. I don't know about Daryl Harding Jr. right now. I don't know that he is fully bought in. I'm not sure. He has not necessarily progressed in spring and fall camp, but we'll see. Once again, he's playing against his teammates and buddies, and so it might be completely different when he laces them up against Temple on Friday. And then I would say the last two, because Kevin Johns just say he's comfortable with like 6, maybe 7 that are going to rotate. I think if you have to put the last 2 in there, Jontavius Robertson's been around the program a little bit, and then Malik Bowen-Sims, also a little bit of a bigger guy as well. So really on the big side, you've got Malik Bowen-Sims, Daryl Harding Jr., and Eli Pankle. And the rest of those guys are like 6 foot or under. Those are the guys I think we're going to see, get in the rotation at wide receiver.
Tell us about Luca Diamond at wide receiver. What's that been like to watch?
Yeah, if I had to say the next guy, it's going to be Luca.
Yeah.
Luca obviously knows the playbook really well. And he's an intelligent football player. And he's made some really good catches, to be honest with you. But there's just he's small, skinny, kind of thing. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if he progresses throughout the year. But once again, this was his call. He's the one who requested to go to the wide receiver room. He also knew the depth that we had at wide receiver when he did that. So it's going to be interesting.
Quarterback a year ago, now Luca Diamond, a wide receiver this season. Talking wide receivers for this upcoming 2022 year, I'm certainly thrilled for 2 of the top returners in the wideout room, in Jalen Calhoun and Eli Pankle. More specifically, how productive do you think those 2 guys could be this year? Because that's going to be really critical for this Duke football offense. You got to have your playmakers make plays. I think those are going to be 2 of the top guys. Josh, how productive do you think Calhoun and Pankle can be this season?
Well, I think Calhoun is going to be productive. I don't think there's any question about it. He has to be. Somebody's got to catch football, and he's going to be the one. I believe the success of the Kevin Johns offense is going to be not Jalen Calhoun's numbers, but it's going to be the next two wide receivers' numbers. So it's going to be how big of a jump can Eli Pankle make?
Right.
And I believe Jordan Moore. What kind of numbers will Jordan give us at wide receiver? And so, listen, as bad as we were last year and the year before, as far as the passing game was concerned, you had Noah Gray 3 years ago that caught like 60 balls. You had Jaylen and then Jake Bobo. That's kind of the three over these last few years. So we're going to have that one guy. To me, the success of the offense is how do your 2 and 3 guys look?
No doubt.
I look for Eli Pankle, Jordan Moore to be those next two guys. And if those two guys have good seasons at wide receiver, that means our offense has taken some major steps forward.
Which we're excited about. We hope that offense can take some steps forward, and we'll see what the wide receiver room looks like going into this 2022 season. We'll take our final timeout on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. We'll talk tight ends in just a moment. Thanks again for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen every day. The ultimate college football preview is here. A 7-episode preview with local experts, local team experts, and Odyssey College Football insiders. It's everything you need to be ready for the college football season in one spot. Search for Ultimate College Football Preview on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Back on the show today, Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside Josh Cox. College football is back. Duke football 1 week away. But tomorrow, we've got college football. We now have week 0 in the sport. In the ACC, Florida State and North Carolina have a game. A conference matchup in the Big Ten between Northwestern and Nebraska in Ireland. That's right, Northwestern, a team that Duke's going to see this season, and Nebraska will be playing a college football game in Ireland tomorrow. We're going to have college football on TV this weekend, Josh.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? I'm telling you, the countdown has been there. Twitter and social media has gotten everybody hyped up for it. There's so many preseason this and preseason that. Some of them are absolutely hilarious to me. And now we're getting to the part where media availability is, there for like players and coaches, and you're starting to hear some chirping a little bit about, how good certain teams think they're going to be and whatnot. And I love it, man. I love it. It's the best time of year. I love the beginning of college football season.
And 7 days away from Duke football. Anthony Boone days away from the start of this upcoming season. So with that in mind, let's talk tight ends to wrap up today's episode. We mentioned a good one over the past few seasons in Noah Gray for the Duke Blue Devils. Noah is no longer on the football team. He's doing his thing with the Kansas City Chiefs now at the next level. Tell me about that tight end room for Duke this season.
Yeah, it is a really good room because probably the most improved player on the team physically, from a physicality standpoint, is Nikki Dalman. We had Kevin Johns, and you ask these coaches, they're so good at like talking to the media and saying nothing at all.
Absolutely.
While trying to act like they're saying something. But when we asked Kevin Johns about Nikki Dalman, his face lit up, and he said, "This guy has really like improved so much. He's gained 22 plus pounds. He is fast as lightning. We can say this now because it's over and done with. He had a little bit of an injury tweak about 2.5 weeks ago that he's completely recovered from. I personally believe that in 3-4 years, he's going to be the guy from this year's team that is on an NFL roster and playing at the next level. So you've got Nikki Dalman. You've got Cole Finney. Cole Finney is bigger. Nikki is, and I believe he actually used to be a wide receiver, kind of converted to tight end. He's on the smaller side of a tight end. He's 6'4", 239 is what he's listed at. But Cole Finney, 6'7", 261 pounds. Now, Cole Finney is a man. He is a workhorse. Cole Finney does not possess nearly the speed and the ball catching skills that Nikki does. But Cole can move some people. And obviously at tight end, you're not just being asked to catch the ball. You're being asked to block. You're being
Really
asked
good
to get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so not to discuss details of offensive schemes, but I believe I can say this without getting in trouble. There will be there's definitely packages installed in the Duke offense that call for two tight ends, and we haven't necessarily seen a lot of that in the past. There's definitely two tight end system employed with this group, and so you're going to see a lot of Dalman and Finney.
You got to practice all that though, even in fall camp. Like even if it's a two tight end set in the grand scheme of things with Duke football in 2022, even if that two tight end set accounts for 5% of your snaps this upcoming season, you still need to practice and make sure that's good and ready to rock and roll. But you think those are the two main guys to emerge from that room?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a true freshman in Kate Anders just back there. But once again, he just came here in the fall for fall camp.
Yeah.
Andrew Jones, Matt Smith are the other two that are in that room. Both bigger guys. Andrew Jones had a touchdown catch, I believe, in the first scrimmage. Matt Smith had a touchdown catch in the second scrimmage. They're not bad. They're not bad. Once again, I think it's one of the most stable rooms on the roster, this tight end room.
All right, we've talked a lot today about running backs, about wide receivers, about tight ends. We mentioned at the Section 17 podcast that Josh Cox is a host for. Follow him on Twitter at Duke FB Talk, and Josh is on Twitter at Joshua Cox. On your season preview, which I got to take part in, making predictions on stat leaders and that sort of thing. And you guys went receiving and rushing, split the difference in all of that. I kind of want to know here for our listeners today, Josh, who scores the most touchdowns? We opened the show with touchdowns. I want to celebrate them. Who's going to be in the end zone the most this season out of the guys we've discussed today?
I will tell you what I said.
Give me one.
I'm going to tell you what I said. I had to explain it. I got to qualify it. Here's what I said. I have number of receptions with Jalen Calhoun. I forget what number I said. I have number of receiving yards with Jalen Calhoun. I forget what the number was. And I was going to sweep it. And we were all going to sweep it. But the more I got thinking about it, this is my hope so.
Yeah.
I actually went Nikki Dalman for touchdowns.
All right.
Because once again, if you think back to the most successful Duke football days, Braxton Deaver was a hawk at that tight end position. You know what I mean? Daniel Helm. You think back at those guys. And then we kind of went away, in the last couple of years. We've kind of gone away from the tight end. But Noah Gray even. I mean, Noah Gray had that season with Quentin Harris. God bless his heart. Quentin Harris wasn't throwing the ball more than 10 yards down the field. So Noah Gray was like his safety net.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, this season, get into the red zone. There might be a little bit more Jordan Moore at quarterback packages. And I think that tight end position is just kind of a nice little outlet for him. So I went Nikki Dalman touchdowns.
Perfect. Absolutely love it. Make sure you go listen to the Section 17 podcast to hear the rest of all of their predictions. Josh, the time is always greatly appreciated. The next time we speak here on the program, it's going to be game week, and that's incredibly exciting.
It's really cool, and I know you understand this running this podcast, but it's really neat when you're Duke football specific like we are coming up to game week. We're going to be on a couple of different podcasts. We'll be here on Locked On, and then we'll be on the Devil's Den next week as well, and then we have our own episode coming out, season preview. So we're going to be doing a lot of Duke football talk. That's our Twitter handle. Next week leading into the opening game, and I absolutely can't wait. This is, like I said, one of the most exciting weeks of the year for me.
Busy time for you guys, and it's outstanding that here we are. Football season is here. Josh, thanks for the time. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a great week, JJ. We'll see you later, man.
That's my buddy Josh Cox from Duke Football Talks Section 17 podcast joining us on the show today. And that concludes today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils. Once again, thank you so much for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen and your first watch each and every day. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at @LO_Blue Devils. I'm on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you soon. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.